Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Different part of the world people are joining in for this webinar. And for today, this webinar we would be talking on is majorly towards the community outlook, the trends, and the prediction for 2024. So the agenda for this webinar that we conduct in the session aims to provide an understanding of past trends that we experienced in 2023 and future forecast for 2024, which will help fostering a well-informed perspective on the dynamics of online communities. Hi, I am Nikhil Sharma, Associate Director with Grazitti. I have been working with Grazitti for the past 4 years now and an overall experience of 16 years. I have worked on many different deliveries related to web, communities, technical challenges. But today, I have famous guests with me, speakers I would like to introduce. First one, Ed Giansante, Head of Community Persona. Currently serving as Head of Community at Persona, he has been illustrious background at the former Global Head of Community at prominent organizations like Dropbox, Wix, Zynga, and VMware, name a few of them. He also founded Ed Dublin, renowned for his expertise in video storytelling, which is amazing. Ed has amassed over 400K YouTube subscribers, and he has more than 50 million views, guys. Come on. Amazing deal. His community scaling efforts had led to multi-million-dollar savings. He has also been earning the title of the most efficient employee in 13, I'm sorry. In 2020, Ed was honored as an online community professional of the year by CMX. So huge achievement, I would say. Now based out of San Francisco, he spearheads community initiatives for the startup Persona. Please welcome Ed Giansante. And another guest speaker, we have Yurii Lazaruk, Community Ambassador, Communiverse. He has been ambassador at Communiverse, specializing in cultivating communities for startups and established companies, also emphasizing trust and collective growth with a firm belief that community support, and also he leverages personal experience to offer valuable insights within communities. Yuri's impact, I would say, is evident in significant Ukrainian communities like Sales Hero, SEO Club UA, CPC Real Talk, and Marketing Club UA, actively participating in global learning through CMX and Community Club. He strives to share his insight globally. As an adept community consultant, Yurii facilitates global knowledge and acquisition, partnership, building growth, making sure people can talk, people shows versatile skills and technical expertise, and he has brilliant background in mathematics and IT, I'm saying. So welcome both of you guys, and we will continue this session with our esteemed guest all across the world that has joined. So we will begin with quick question answers, and then we will have one-to-one discussions, and then we'll take question answers from the chat, from our users, the joined people who have already asked us questions. So this question goes to both of you, Ed and Yurii. So any one of you can take the question immediately. First of all, if you can share perspective of our transformative change that we witnessed on online communities during year 2023. So can you share, I would not say quickly, but let's begin, and then we can move on with more of questions. Yurii?
Is it fun? It's an awkward pause. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so I can talk. Yeah, please don't just stop me. So what I see definitely, it's like not only 2023 but previous years after let's say after the COVID, people are coming back a little bit to real life, and they less active in online communities, which doesn't mean that they left their online communities, because they are still there. And what I talk about from with some folks, that, oh my god, the engagement dropped and I don't know what to do with engagement. But the question is like, do you really need that engagement? Do you really need that vanity metrics? Do you really need all those messages? Are those driving some value? So for me, it was like a little bit of switch to more to value than for amount of events. And yeah, people are trying to balance their work-life thing. And very carefully choose where to go and where not to go. And what I really hate from like professional perspective, that I see a lot of layoffs in the community space, and it's not that easy to get back on a horse. And yeah, I really hate that, but things are happening. So yeah, Edo, what do you think
That's
about
great.
this?
Yeah, Ed.
Well, first of all, thanks, Nikhil, for the introduction. I think you're the best person to introduce people, so I'll always use you because you always sell me really well. So thanks for that. Good to be here. Good to be with the Grazitti team. I think the last time we spoke was also really good, and the first time we met was maybe like 10 years ago or more, which is crazy. So we've seen a lot of transformation, right? And I think that Yurii brought a good point that, post-pandemic, a lot of things happened on like mindsets. But I'll share maybe a different perspective to this because I was in Europe and then I moved to San Francisco, and I've seen differences in how people behave, physically as well. So what I'll say is, maybe to not take a lot of time here, is people are eager for more. They're hungry to meet and to connect with people. They want to find that purpose. They want to find that motivation. They want to get back to it. While we had this era of online, and online was great for a long time, people crave the in-person events, and that's very tangible. I was speaking in a conference in Kalamata in Greece last year, and it was, I don't know, 400 people there. It's crazy. It was like a lot of, it wasn't meant to be that many, but it was really, really huge. It was a lot of people. People really wanted to talk, listen to each other, mingle, grab a beer together, hug each other. We had a lot of events like CMX and whatnot, like last year as well, which were like really great. And then here, I'm doing a lot of meetups for startups, and people just come. Like, I mean, they're like, "Who's this dude? Who just moved and he's organizing this thing?" But they show up. They're here. Last time we had like 120 people. So people come. They want to get that connection back. So I feel that while online was great and still works really well for a lot of things, people kind of crave that. Let's touch bases again. Let's talk again, and not necessarily have like a full agenda. Let's mingle a little bit. Let's feel like each other a little bit and build from there.
True. I would agree with both of you, Yurii and Ed. I think this connection power is, I would say, is more valuable because the way you meet face to face, you have certain connections. You can really understand what type of communication the other party wants to communicate with, the emotions, the feelings, how this happens. And yes, the writings, you generally do not, this happened all across. When we were in office, we ask people to get that work done. So how you mold your language, how you talk, so that changes. And yes, Yurii agreed, the last year where we saw a lot of layoffs, that's a sad part all across the communities. I am hoping that this gets better and we have a good 2024 looking forward to. Okay, gentlemen. So, to specific question to Yurii, as we step into 2024. So, could you just have a portrait or a landscape of how this online community look like, and do you forecast something? And I don't want to say manifest, but do you really see something which is coming by 2024 for all of us?
It's interesting. When I was thinking about like what is the landscape, I was like, oh, maybe should I paint a picture, or I don't know, share some photos or whatever. Because I have some photos. By the way, it's Eric Martin sent me this Zoom fee from Between Two Water Coolers meeting, so I have it on my in my small community shrine. And the fun thing that online communities are still alive, which is fun. Kind of like, oh no, people have to go in person and all this stuff, but no, we're still here. We're still talking. We are still thriving, and more community spaces are rising. It's interesting, and I've just participated in this remote daily event, and like they're doing it great. And but it's so hard, we are not having more time. It's still hard to choose where to go, where to share your time, where to pay your attention. But also what I really like, that community currently is everywhere. And you can start conversation on a webinar, you can continue it on LinkedIn, and you can finish conversation on Slack or something like that. And then you meet in person in the evening, which I really love. And those people who say that, oh no, community platform have to be only in one space. No, please, no. You can connect with people. You can have those touch with folks everywhere, which I really love. And as I told a little bit, people carefully choose where to stay. And sometimes people ask me like, how do you choose where to stay? How do you choose in what community to participate? And usually for me, it's like, I don't really care a lot about the company, or I don't care about the naming or whatever. I usually stay for people. So if there are my people, if I know those folks, if I want to connect with them, I'm staying there. So I would say it's like my community landscape. So to sum up, community is still thriving. People are more careful with their time, and we can connect, and we should connect, continue connecting everywhere, all at once.
Thanks, Yurii. Rightly said. I think connection power, again, it comes back to the same thing. But does it matter how many audience would be available, present in that event or community discussion? Or as you said, that company doesn't matter, the company, organization, logos and all, but how many people are coming in? If it's a small event, round table, so do you still feel that the same way? We go there and attend, we meet people and discuss?
Depends on the value, because for example, on the previous meeting, like currently we have like 554 attendees, and on a previous meeting we had like almost the same number, which means that people are investing their time into this. Maybe they find it valuable, and pretty much the same it remains. If you are creating just another webinar, if you don't care about what people needs are, if you don't care about inviting good professionals, I'm not talking about those who are vocal in community space, but in every space, but really great professionals. If you are not doing that, why should people go there? And sometimes it doesn't, even if you invite great speakers, if you have great events, sometimes people are not participating just because they have their life, they have their work, they have their stuff to do. And it depends. I don't have a clear answer. Like, yes, I see that many people are participating or less people are participating. It pretty much depends. But if it's valuable, build it, they will come. So.
Right. Yep. Value driven, it should be. And the more value we can drive out of an event or meeting people, I think that's a go-to event or community to attend, I'm sure. That's a good insight, Yurii. Thank you so much. Moving on to the next question before we wrap this up, and to Ed. So you can also add Ed for the current landscape if you ask, but to add that, so can you share some insights how this data-driven insight, because data is the new oil, as we say that, and data has been very, very successful to make sure. But I also heard data can be an ingredient, but you need to make a recipe out of it to make sure that this data is very valuable. So how these data-driven insights have become the pillars of success for 2024?
Right. Great question. So I'll bring like the other side of the community, which is like the not so romantic side of the community. How does that relate to the business goals? How does that tie into your metrics, right? So I feel that let's address the elephant in the room, which is the layoffs, right? A lot of people concerned, and a lot of people who got laid off, they're like, they're upset. They're trying to understand what happened. They're trying to figure, and it's clear, right? I mean, there are maybe 3 pillars, if I can share that. One pillar is efficiency. So can you do more with less? Can you do more work with less? And with the advent of AI, with the ability of, being lean in your operation, you actually can. Second, what happened in the last few years was a big bet on like how we would grow. So there was a lot of expectation that was not met as a reality. So what I mean by that is a lot of companies were betting like different teams, different structures, different ways in how community would play a big part of their group. And maybe didn't fulfill that because you went back to normal, right? We went back to the post-pandemic life, and things changed and they had to adapt. Not everyone was ready for that. But third, I think there's also to do with maturity, and I think that's a mix of things, and that's maybe more related to your question. A lot of community managers are fantastic with people. They're great with their social skills. They have great communications, but they're really bad with data. They're really bad tying that back into the business. So like the example when you mentioned like that I was getting this award at Zynga for the efficiency, what was the actual goal behind it. It wasn't because I was the friendliest guy in the office or anything like that. Quite the opposite. I was probably like the most boring guy. But the one thing that I knew I was able to do was, how would I tie the amount of people who were asking us to get help into a community operation that would solve that and therefore not need to contact us. So the example there, being very quick on this, is a gaming company. Usually people who play games, they're very good at their games. They learn a lot. And they're the ones who know best about the games, or even better than the even producers of the game, which is crazy. So what if these people can help fellow members, right, who don't know as much about the game as themselves? So that was the community strategy. As much as there was like this aspect of like being part of this game, being part of this, community, at the end of the day, it was like, how do I help them help each other? So therefore, I do need to hire more people. And then I can change my OPEX and CAPEX, because I was changing operations, changing my capacity for teams, for hiring, and that saved millions of dollars. So if you have to summarize this all, it's like, can you show me the dollars? Can we make more dollars or save dollars for me? Yes? Great, so let's keep going. If you can't, you have to prove it in different ways, which is very hard. So it's almost like, what's the outcome you need? What's the outcome you need? And then what am I going to build to get that outcome? That's how I would summarize this. Data is like crucial for community.
And I would love to add a little bit to you, Ed, because I have pretty much deep thoughts that I'm not sharing too much because I don't want to hurt anyone. But usually, people are not firing somebody because they're bringing money. And even if, like, yes, community space, it's all about relationship, it's all about connections, it's all about helping people, but you're working with your teams, which means that you also try to help your teams too. They're also like members of your community. And the moment you can understand how to connect your people, your clients with your teams and how to get value out of it, not only like human value, but business value, it's the best case scenario. And yeah, that's it.
True. I don't think it's a very genuine thing, Yurii. Nobody would be understanding though, but yes, true. Data is the value for generation for sure. Okay, so to you, Yurii, as we know that omni-channel approach is getting in much of an, I would say, full pressure from everyone to get into the groove, making sure the omni-channel approach has to be followed. And so my question is around that. So what do you think that about following an omni-channel approach where you can orchestrate many things from one channel? And do you think that this is the key for making online communities more successful, making sure that they follow the best practices and we have the best approach for our, either it's in bigger communities or we bifurcate it to smaller SMEs communities?
Am I understanding it correctly that by saying omnichannel, do you mean like connecting with people like on platform, we are newsletter, on YouTube, on basically everywhere? And yes, there are many great community experts talking about that community is everywhere, and I trust them. But yes, it's really everywhere, because as I told you a little bit previously, you start conversation in one place, you continue it in another place, and you finalize on it somewhere else. And people attention span is so short, so 1 second you are on Slack, you're having this conversation, another second you are going somewhere, but you have LinkedIn on your phone, and then you are starting commenting on somebody else's post, and then you had the conversation with some person and they also see your comment, and you continue your conversation on LinkedIn. So pretty much I would say that it's a great approach to get people to meet people where they are. And the more you, but once again, please, if you are talking about it from the community perspective, or like sharing some information, sharing some stuff with folks, do not do same thing everywhere. Like you are doing post on Slack, then you're posting the same thing on LinkedIn, then you're posting the same email on newsletter. It's like a little bit of annoying. But if you know, pretty much it's pretty much marketing approach. So you have different conversations in different channels. Yeah, exactly. As Catherine saying in chat, please no copy and paste. And because, when you see the same thing all over again, it hurts feelings. So yeah, from my perspective, you can get the right people in the right place. And also from communities I'm working with, I have this Google Sheet file where I have a list of members and I tag where to find who. I know that some people are more active on Slack. I know that some people are more active on LinkedIn. Some people are better reading newsletters. So, if I'm reaching out on Slack to somebody who's active on LinkedIn and I'm waiting for their reply, it's no sense because they won't answer, they're not checking Slack. So I always know where to find my community members. And yes, I'm using it. So it works. I would say it works.
Right, Yurii. I think, but the more approach we have, I would say, so what about the privacy then? The more interaction channels you open, you get connected with so many things, and you have many people like talking to you on there's face-to-face, then your LinkedIn, and then your social medias, and you keep on talking, chatting. But then there's a case of data privacy hacks, and how have you managed? So would that be a point of contention for every user, or are they are quite open to it?
What do you mean by asking that?
Like, omnichannel is an approach, right? So we follow this approach all across. Either it's on communities, then you move on to LinkedIn, WhatsApp, and everything. But would people be more comfortable getting into omnichannel, responding onto omnichannel approach, or it would just be like the companies say that we should have an omnichannel approach, but generally they try to hinder from such approaches?
I'd say the universal rule of community is like meet people where they are. And I feel like it works that way. And I'm really bad in safety things, in like data privacy and all this stuff. And sometimes I'm feeding some text to Chat GPT, and like I have amazing friend Ella Ang de Jong. She's always like, do you know what they will use your data for? Are you sure that you want to put your information in this Chat GPT? Are you sure all your tools that you use in AI not, using your data for some stuff? And I'm like, oh shit, I'm not thinking about that. And so I'm talking about omnichannel approach, not from kind of company perspective, but like from human perspective. Okay. Because what I see, that different people in different time are on different channels. And Ed, you have something to add, I guess.
Thanks for that. I want to add something that's probably related to your question. When you hear this word omnichannel, when we think like we have to open channels everywhere and be available everywhere and be, putting either tools or capacity to deal with that everywhere, because to Yuri's point, we want to be where they are. But we have to be smart about that, right? It goes back to the efficiency point on the data-driven. As much as you have an audience you could gain on like your YouTube, and then on Twitter, and then on a forum, and then on Slack, and then somewhere else, the more you build, the more you open, the more responsibility for you, right? The more will go back into you as work. So being efficient means what's the one, and I think that goes to Catherine's point, what's the main or the core channel here, or the core space, or the core ways of connection that I want to focus on? And then can I use other tools just like be like exponential growth for that? So become like boosters for that. And this can come in many ways, right? I'm going to give you like a very tangible example. When we launched our Slack community for our startup members here for Persona, we didn't open like a full Slack community. We have a Slack channel where they're just guests of one single channel. Why? Because we don't have a lot of them. And it's a very selective group that we invite in because they have to be accepted. What's the point of me giving like a full channel with a lot of like, jobs, I don't know, AI discussions, water coolers, if I have like 100 members, like it's going to be so scarce. It's almost like you have like this 10,000 square feet space for like 50 people, and they're just going to feel lost. They're like, it feels empty because there's just not enough people there. It doesn't populate the whole thing. So bringing them into a single space is being more efficient for me, because I know I can build more automations, I can build better controls, I can do better engagement with them, and it works better. And if it grows, then I'm like, okay, feels like we're having more conversations about this other topic. Now we can expand. Or feels like people are more engaged on WhatsApp. Let's open up a WhatsApp group. But that becomes like a strategic omnichannel strategy versus let's open up everything and figure it out later, So that's my approach to it.
Right. Just start small and then we can grow big.
And I would add also a little bit from of my approach. So I also have the main channel, but also I'm opening too many channels and then see how it works. Because, for example, I'm doing a lot of podcasts recently, and I'm doing this Freelance Thrive, Freelance Sucks podcast for a company 9am that I'm working on. And what I see that it helps people to also connect, because what I do on those podcasts, I'm just talking about people experience. I'm talking about their emotions. I'm talking about like, how do they approach some specific thing and what challenges do they meet on their freelancing journey and how they overcome them. And it might sound like as content. Yes, it's like YouTube, Spotify, whatever, it's content, but it's also part of community building, because by doing that, I'm connecting people with each other, because somebody from community like, oh, I'm also UI UX designer. Oh, I'm facing the similar challenges. And then they listen to a podcast and then they connect in the community, which works. And I really love, doing this small touches everywhere. And then, yeah, the best case scenario to have people in one place, but in reality, it's hard.
True. Yeah, you can open many channels, and probably the management is little, I would say, difficult, but it's the newest approach that we really want to follow so that we can have more people to connect with. So this is an open question for both of you. Very hot topic going on, gamification. So how gamification will it be a dominating force for the complete landscape in 2024? Because everybody wants to make more users, registrations, people coming in, and gamification is one of the, I would say, major factor to promote your communities. So, and it's open to both of you. So, Ed, your thoughts for gamification 2024?
Yeah, really good point there. I'll share again a short story that the first time I did gamification, I didn't even know this word existed. I probably wasn't aware of the terminology. That was 2011 or 12 at Zynga. And that was, again, I was working at the gaming company, right? So back then, I don't know if you remember like Farmville, where you crop your, right? All of that. Games on Facebook. And then when we were building the community strategy, what was the one thing that these people were like craving for and they really wanted? They wanted these special items in the game. And then after speaking with the producers of the game a couple of times and trying to find a way that we could reward them in game, we found out that, hey, if we give them these specific items, back then was like the cows. You could give them like different colored cows, like purple cows, reference here to Seth. You could give them different items that wouldn't change the mechanics, because if these items would change mechanics, it becomes harder. But it was like a simple thing. And they're like, yeah, we can create like this, I don't know, golden cow. We can create this like purple cow, whatever. And that doesn't change the mechanics. It's literally like a line of code for us because we have the item design. It's just changing the color. So if you want to use that as a reward, and I was like, that's exactly what I need. And as people were getting more active in the community and helping each other and, being more of the top contributor like list and reaching like that leaderboard top ranks, I would grant them the item. So it was very manual. I had to pull like their user ID in the game and then grant them the items like, hey, congrats, you've been so awesome. You earned those like purple cow. They're like, wow. So that was like truly gamification, if I can say, because it was literally in the game. But then I think if you like fast forward to where we are today, there has been a lot of like gimmicks that are being used as the terminology gamification. They're like, oh, we'll ship you a t-shirt and then you're going to be more active. And they're like, not sure. I've got a lot of swags that I'm like, there became like pajamas. They're like, one blanket I got, it's like my dog's blanket. It's not really making me engage more, to be very honest. But there are things in how you do these things and the real connection to your purpose that may make it work, may make it feel great. So to your point then, Nikhil, gamification now has to be very intentional. It's not swag shipping. There are many ways in how you can make engagement meaningful. Another example I'm going to bring to you that's like tangible. When I was working at Dropbox and we started like thinking about community, I was hired, there was no community as a term. We had like our founder that in 2008 started like a forum that died within like a year. And then 2014, I joined and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? What do we do? we already had 500 million users. So it was a big number of users, right? What I did was I was starting to find these people like online who were talking about Dropbox. I would engage them, and that's like before GDPR, so please forgive me here. I would go and chase them and find their address to them, send them something, but I wouldn't send them anything. I literally had handwritten cards, and I would ask our engineers to handwrite as well, say like, hey, thanks man, you're great, da-da-da-da-da. I'll give them context, like, hey, Yurii is this guy, did this and this and that. And they'd be like, okay, Yurii, looks like you're great at this, man. Sounds like you're a musician. Oh man, I'd love to jam together. And they would write like handwritten notes in this card. And then I would send this to them. And they're like, man, out of 500 million people, you sent this to me. This is very special. Wow. I mean, there's something special here for sure. Just because I posted that one thing on YouTube, or that because of that blog post, just because of that GitHub thing that I pushed, wow, you truly care. So you see the difference, because you're talking about a cohort of 500 million people, and then I'm thinking of you. That changes completely the game. So again, being intentional, how does that connect to what you want to perceive for your communities? I would think about that as gamification.
So I would say personalization plus gamification would make more sense going forward. And just a question, how many cards did you send, Ed?
I sent about 50 of them. I know. I'll give you another little hack. Back then, we were doing like the sales team had to do phone calls. They had like the headsets. So they would buy a lot of the phones, and they came in this white boxes. They had no label. And I was like, that's perfect, because I would get this white boxes, put a sticker on top so it looked like a Dropbox box. And then I'll put the card, and then whatever I find in the office, I'll throw in. So if I had like a chocolate bar, I'll put a chocolate bar. If there was like a water bottle, I'll put a water bottle. So it was never, the same, because it was whatever I found in the office. So it's like, oh, I found this like cord for like USB cord. I'll put this in. Whatever I had there would be like my gift to them on top of the handwritten card. So yeah, it was not a lot. It was about 15 total.
Pretty nice. Pretty nice. Thank you. Yurii, you had something to share?
I'm curious, have you ever sent car keys? Somebody found some.
Oh, man.
Purposely or
Send
by mistake.
your office card, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. And talking about gamification, for me, I struggled a lot stopping caring about Duolingo gamification, because the moment you start getting points, you are competing with others. You want to have this top 1, top 5, top 10. It was so hard for me to stop caring about those points and just be really focused on learning languages. And I still care from time. I still open this, like, oh, what place do I have? Oh, but it's very much pretty much frustrating. So from my perspective, I don't like gamification, because for me it's all about connecting with people. It's all about highlighting them. So for me, if we can call it gamification, it's how many connections have you made? How many people reached out to you? What did you get out of the community? How did you become better than you was the day before? So if you're asking me about gamification, I would change it for a little bit for human touch and human connections in this, if it makes sense. And also not every space has to have gamification, because I'm not expecting gamification from LinkedIn, for example, because I'm there just to share some kind of knowledge and read what other people are sharing and to get those connections. And I don't care about if I have like this golden status on LinkedIn or silver status. They have this top voice badge. Yes, you can get them. Yes, but like if you are not, continuing doing some things that they want you to do for them, once again, to help building their product, they will take this badge away. Like it doesn't, for me, it's like, no, please, no. If you're giving me a badge, please leave it. So yeah, for me, it's very confusing thing. And I'll just stop here.
True. I think people should not confuse between rewards and gamification. So because gamification gives you rewards, you try to like have more rewards with you, but eventually personalization, which I have just heard from both of you, I can conclude the personalization has to take a major step here. The better for every user that you want to make it more customized, be more near to the human, that will be a major change for sure for gamification.
Yeah. Can I add another example that just makes it feel like more connected to business cases and data-driven results? Because I think it goes back to your question that you had before. On Udemy, the ed tech platform, and I would believe like other communities do the same, but Udemy, what's the game plan for them? They want to make you create great quality courses that will make you money, right? So there's an end goal for both. You make money out of it, they make money out of it, because there's a shared revenue. So what do they do with the top contributors? What do I mean by top contributors? People who create high quality courses. How do I know? They're like highest rated. They have high number of people purchasing them. They reward you by using paid ads to promote your course even more. They'll create online articles about you. They'll write PR articles about you, and they'll get you out there, because they know that the more you feel proud about this and more people come in, they know it's high quality. And their goal is, I need high quality content that's generated by the community, not by us, right? So again, gamification there is very tangible. It's like, I'll reward you by giving you presence, giving you visibility, giving you badges, giving you first result on the search. I'll give you different ways of gamifying. So not a badge, just like actual results, top of result of the search, you're like top contributor. I'm gonna run paid ads so you get more people in, and it's a shared win for us. So it's a gamified experience, but it works for the business.
And it brings value.
Yeah, and you can trust those people that this is what value has been generated. I think true, absolutely true, guys. Okay, moving on to I would say my final question from the panel that we had set, but we'll take one question from audience then. AI, we were just discussing a few questions back. AI has come up in a big time, and everybody is doing more of a research where they want to land in this AI technology world now. So as we know that AI has become the beacon for community engagement. And so would this impact the chatbots and the automation in the online communities? Do you really think that this is, I would say, envision, and do you foresee some AI chatbots automation happening in near future, 2024, mid 24 after that? Would that be something coming up for every one of us, or it would just be in a POC phase where we will try to find it, and then for implementation, it will take a lot of time?
I can start. I'll share my perspective. I think AI is here to stay. We're in a phase where people are just toying with AI. There are a lot of AIs for fun and like absolutely meaningless tools for a lot of things. And maybe they're just experiments, right? It's almost like they say a lot this in the Silicon Valley, they spray and pray. Let's do a lot of things and pray for one of them to work. So let's build a lot of AI tools and pray for one of them to take off. Because someone is trying to make the next Google, build the next Meta, the next TikTok. So they're trying to find which AI will resonate with the majority of people and become like the next big thing, the most necessary thing for my daily use. Chat GPT is one example, right? So it's one of the examples, but there are a lot of like other ways of using AI to community. And here's a fun fact. So if you know that AI is basically using by large language models, pulling information that the majority of people would have created in the past thousands of years, not thousands, but like in the next few years. Why do you need research? Why can't you just go into an AI and say like, okay, from now on, you are my cohort of people that I'm going to survey, because you are the representation of a majority. So if I need to know, okay, what's the demographics for this? What's the results for this? You may be able to get some results that you don't need to do research for anymore. What if my answers are common sense answers? So if I have a community that's about, I don't know, a phone company that's, that have the same questions all over the place, like how do I reset my password? How do I connect to the, 3G? How do I tether my phone? How to do this? They're like common sense. Is there a need for an engagement there for people to engage, or is this like almost a transactional use of AI? So I would feel that it works for a lot of these cases. Another example is they're complementing to what you get, right? So I'll share like a personal example. My wife and I have been watching The Chosen TV series, and then sometimes we have a lot of questions like, but wait, what happened? Did Jesus do this thing? When was that? I had no idea. And then you go to Chat GPT and we're like, hey, Chat GPT, what happened to Jesus at this and this situation? And they're like, oh, according to the Bible, And because it's common knowledge, right? I mean, there's a lot of work done in the previous, like, 2,000 years about the Bible. So there's definitely a lot of knowledge that the Chat GPT can survey and give you back. So we use that to complement, to add to our experience. So I feel that AI is this enhancer. They're not a replacement. And if people use that as an enhancer to what they're doing, it can be amazing, amazing. We have a lot of other examples, but I want to hear Yuri's perspective on this.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And I love how AI helps us to get faster in what we're doing, but it's very much important, but it helps you if you are smart. If you are not smart, it won't help you. Please, no, don't use the first generated text from ChatGPT to post it in the community or do a newsletter. Please don't. But it's really helpful to do some brainstorming, to find some ideas, to see, like, to have this helicopter view on a problem that you're trying to solve, on a newsletter you're trying to write, on something you try to share with the community. And it's interesting that there are so many tools that sometimes people are searching for a tool and like, oh, it's interesting tool. What problem it solves? Let me try it. So they find tools and try to think what problem to solve with it, instead of having a problem to solve and finding the tool for it. And it's a bad way to go. If you have a problem and you find a tool, great match. Otherwise, please don't do that. There will be a lot of tools, as Edo told, like spray and pray. Exactly. I love this phrase. And it's also what makes noise in this AI world. People like, oh, I created AI tool for something. So I have the story. I wanted to, this was some video editing tool with AI, and it promised to create a great small video for social media. I do it manually currently. I use Descript. They use a little bit of AI, but I create always those clips manually because I know what I want. I know how to find it. So I tried this tool, and it costed somewhere like 100 euros for a year or something like that. Or it was for a month, 100 euros. And I was like, I purchased it. They didn't have any trial. I purchased it, and it was so shitty. I was like, why? I wrote them a letter like, please refund me. I really needed this one feature from you, and it doesn't work. I had a call with founder later on. I gave him feedback like why I don't like it. They luckily refunded me, but I was like, why should I pay for something that it's not helpful? So it's great. And what I really love saying that, as Edo told, that AI is with us, AI is staying, but we are changing horses for cars. And if you are still not working with AI tools, at least ChatGPT, please start doing that. There are so many people talking about this. There are already books written with help of ChatGPT. So please use a little bit of time, try to understand how it works, and try to think what problems you can solve with this tool. No, first think about problems and then try and go and try this tool, because it's very much helpful. And as Edo told, yes, exactly, if it's common knowledge, common sense, like exactly, chatbots are doing the best. You don't need people there. If you are asking like how to reset my password, it will give you a great answer like in a human voice, but you don't need a real human to sit and type it for you. So yeah.
Rightly said, gentlemen. AI is there and it will stay for sure, but how diligently we can use it, as you said, that we just cannot copy paste what is given by the first instance immediately. We have to rework, we'll have to resize, make sure that the usability is there for all of us, rather than we just blindly do that, what we got from the Chat GPT. True, gentlemen. Thank you so much for this. And moving on, we have a few queries from the audience, and we'll take one by one, whatever time allows. So we have a question from Yasmin. She says, I work at a large multinational company as a community manager for employees. What trends or best practices are you seeing when it comes to internal employee communities with more remote and hybrid sort of a work that be happening? So I think best practices that we can quickly talk about, what are for hybrid and internal communities, I would say, for employees.
I can share something because we did something at Wix when I was working there. We were about 5,000 people, so I'm not sure if that's roughly the same size. Yes, maybe it could be bigger for your operation, but it was large enough so that you wouldn't even know who works there, who does what, right? So what's the unfair advantage that you have when you are doing an internal community as opposed to an external community? Is that everyone is an employee, everyone has the insider information. So if your company has a culture of being transparent, you essentially have free access to everything you want and any question you want, right? I mean, apart from maybe like salaries or whatever, but I'm talking about company strategy, roadmap, things like that. What is the second biggest challenge that companies have internally that could be used as a fair advantage? Leadership. So I would love to sit with like the CEO at Grazitti and learn from him, like, how did you build this tool? How did you build this company, from scratch? Because back then, no one was thinking much about community. What was in your head? How can I learn from you? And we did that. So we launched like a leadership course. So people who were like mid-level managers who wanted to become leaders, they would learn from like our C staff. So they would literally like sit in cohorts. And just like you would do like for an online community, you had like a cohort of students. They would have the lessons live. They would have a community space. They would join and talk, ask questions, discuss the ideas that they learned from the leaders. And then at the end, like the very last session was with the CEO and founder of Wix. And again, he would do all of this. At the end of this, we transformed all this content that we created into a book. And then we sent this book to all the managers in the company. So every new hire as a manager who had like people under them would get this book and say, okay, this is the book about leadership, about everything we built together here. We're doing a next cohort. You can apply for the cohort. And there was like a waiting list because people were like, I want to do that. So that's leveraging internal usage, internal knowledge, internal people purely for community reasons to drive that motivation, drive that goal, like that incentive for them to learn more and to get from each other. So that's how I would do it to think about like large multinationals.
Yeah.
I will pass. I'm not working with huge international companies, but what I see from our small team, what I'm trying to do as a community builder inside, that I'm trying to understand what's going on in each team, and I'm trying to connect them, to ensure that we're sharing the same problem, like from all of our teams, and to kind of like make this more humanly. So I'm a little bit joking sometimes that like I'm working with external community, but you are my community too. So get ready. I'll be building you.
Great. So we have one more question where it's Matthew Air. I think it's more of an how do you anticipate gamification techniques involving in future of online communities? I think we have somewhat spoken about the gamification techniques that personalization should be but still, gentlemen, if you really want to add something here, how do you anticipate any techniques, specific techniques that you want to mention? Otherwise, we can move on to the next question. Okay, so another question that from our listeners: how do you envision the role of online communities evolving in broader context of digital connectivity and social interaction in coming years? So I will not take coming years, but let's go step by step. How do you envision the role of online communities evolving the broader context of digital connectivity and social interaction in coming years?
I'd say pretty much the same as it works now, so yes, it connects people, like-minded people. It gives you a place where to meet someone who curious or has the same challenges as you are. And it connects you. And one thing that I hear from community members that sometimes it's so hard to get to understand everything that's happening in the community because it's moving really fast and many comments and many news and many content and all the stuff. And I always say to people, like, first of all, no worries, like, you won't miss anything. If you will miss anything, and you will have a question, just come to me. I'll help you, first of all. And secondly, just one small touch anywhere once a week, it's enough to be connected with each other, to continue building your relationship. So don't try to do it all in one day or in 1 minute, in one moment. So yeah, for me, online communities are important, but I don't know what to add more. Yes,
I'll add to your point, Yurii. I feel that there are foundations that never change. And I'll give you very tangible examples here. Between the three of us here, maybe between Nikhil, myself, and Yurii, we have a lot of differences in how we, I don't know, political views, the support team that we go on, the sports even that we do, if we have family or not, if we have a lot of friends or like we're extroverts, introverts, we have a lot of differences, but we have the same foundation. And what's the same foundation? We care about each other. We want to do good. We don't want to harm people. We don't want to steal from people. We don't want to kill. We don't want to do and these are foundations, right? Of being like a good person, being a good human being. These we cannot disagree. I can't say like, hey, it's okay for you to be a racist. No, it's not. It's never going to be okay because this is how we agree on. Like this is like basics of the world. So for community is no different. So the principle of community is the same. So having a great way of onboarding people, making them feel welcome, and how you make them feel welcome may change. Because maybe it's an online environment, maybe it's a scarcity environment where like, hey, you have to be selected, or maybe there's a buddy system, maybe there's a tool that will do that through automation. That may change, but it's still welcoming people, but it's still telling them, hey, here's the purpose of what we do. Give them the rules of conduct, same thing. So this may not change. So if you think about foundations, you may not change them. It's how you execute. The execution will probably evolve because of AI, because of more tools, because of more immersive experiences. So again, Vision Pro, maybe this is just the beginning, but in 20 years from now, maybe everyone has a glass that has like augmented reality, and that's going to be the new experience. But the role of the community is still the same, like how you want to do good, how you want to help each other, how you want to serve, how you want to be the best person. That doesn't change. So that's how I would see, if you have the foundations very strong in you, the tools would just be enhancers to whatever you're executing.
Right.
And
so
while you were talking, I had one more thought that currently, if you are on many different spaces, for example, you can be a member of Slack community, you can be a member of LinkedIn group, and you can be, if it's like different communities, you can be different person in every space. You can be like very helpful in one space, you can be a troll in another space, you can be somebody else in another space. But I'm hearing this conversation that at some point you might have like one online identity that will connect all of your, let's say, personas in different spaces. And if it happens, you can't be different people anymore on different platforms. So it's also something to think about, to be consistent and to be sure that what you are talking the same thing in different spaces, so that you are not having many faces, in different spaces.
True. So I can resonate two words, humanity, community, with some sort of mixture of what you just said, that basic foundation of human is humanity. We have to make sure we are very warm, we are welcoming, and we make sure that this is the right, and we share same bond. So community will always be of similar nature. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, I have one question, very genuine question, where I was just looking at for community moderation. So content moderation and community guidelines were mentioned. So what trends do you foresee in terms of content moderation, community guidelines, as online communities continue to expand and diversify? So trends, guys, do we see something? What I have understood from the question is, the content moderation on communities, would this be a activity that we'll be performing on moderation, or it would be more of an automated, or we need to expand somewhere on moderations?
I'll add my insights here, but I'm keen to hear yours. So when we talk about content moderation, we're assuming that we are the generators of that content or that space, right? So a forum of some kind, or maybe a comment section of an Instagram post and whatnot. So maybe this is part of what we're saying. It's changing, right? Of the Omni Channel experience, of the community everywhere. All of this terminology, like the community ecosystem, is that people are consuming, building, changing, adapting content everywhere. So if you try and moderate content in all these spaces, you're probably going to create like more burden on you and not necessarily foster what great could be. because that's going back to like, how do I control the narrative? If you're like, and maybe like your law firm, and you actually like have a lot of controls, maybe it's one thing. But if you're like a community of a tool or a SaaS company or whatever, is there a need to really have all this control? What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of like bad feedback, bad actors? Okay, how much is a bad actor versus actual moderation of content, like limiting the voice of the people? So if you're talking about, okay, there's a spammy link, there are tools to prevent that. Like, there's always been tools to prevent bad links. Oh, there's someone impersonating someone else. Okay, that's a different thing. Do I need to have like controls and verify people's identity? Maybe it's one thing. Maybe there are communities, as we said, like it's a forum here where people can ask questions. I don't think like Grazitti would be like, oh, let's close this down because we don't want them to ask this question. Let them ask. I mean, the worst that can happen is we don't answer. That's it. We don't give them the attention. We don't give them the stage to be seen as a troll. So I would say content moderation in that sense shouldn't change. It's more like, how do we become more aware that we don't have the control that we used to have if we had like a single platform? And then think about like, how do I do more great so that the bad things, they stay behind?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And also, I'm really not a huge fan of moderating everything that's going on in the community. Definitely if there is a hate speech or, I don't know, some crazy things, like you understand it logically that some shit is happening, yes. But in general, I see some examples that people are muted for asking like hard questions for the company, like, oh, you are not doing what you were telling us, why you are not doing that? Like, no, delete, you can't ask those questions. And yeah, being open and honest is the best moderation strategy. And you know, I have 12 years old kid, and the more I'm talking to him, the more I understand that adults are basically the same grown up children. They are just a little bit more complicated. And you know, if you are really listen, if you really hear them, if you want to understand them, if you are on the same, if you are trying to get on the same vibe with people, everything will be okay. So, and if you know that you can say everything, usually people are filtrating what to say. But if you know that you can be shut it up, usually people want to say some shit. So, yeah.
Right, guys. I think we have a couple of minutes left, and if you allow, I'll take one more question, and then we can just move on with the closing part, conclusion, I would say. And one question is, in what ways we have community managers utilizing the community analytics to drive measurable outcomes in 2023? So 2023, we knew that there's a lot of data coming by, how the community has grown, what best can we do. So are we taking some measures to move on to 2024 with this data that we have? So how in your organization or in your field do you think that this community analytics would be like used by your team members or the teams that you work within around community?
Can I combine that question with Hal's question? Because I think it's all related to like metrics versus humanity of community. And I feel it can be like a long discussion, but we can do very quickly and then maybe follow up later on. But I think it's, again, there's no like one or the other. It's a balance, right? It's always a balance. You have to have the humanity. You have to, if you're a salesperson, you have to be speak well. You have to have good communication. You have to create that bond. But at the end of the day, there's a metric behind. You have to sell. You have to make that money. No different for community. You know, why would that be if you work for a business? So when we talk about metrics, it's more about which metrics that maybe a few years ago were more what we call vanity metrics. They're just, they sound nice when you say them, but how many of them translate into actual business goals? Like the same thing we said at the very beginning of this conversation. We're now in a situation where there are more eyes on like what's going on. People are paying more attention. The VCs are no longer just spraying and praying. They're like, I'll just take a shot at this one and be very, very specific on like what's going on with this company, or this one startup, or this one employee. So it's no longer like that just let's try, let's see. If it doesn't work, it's all good. So you have to be very smart about this. You have to know how to balance things. And the metrics, again, how do the metrics associate with my business goals? So at the end of the day, business goals are making money or saving money, but there are more things. So maybe another example is I need more awareness because people don't know about my company. I need more feedback because I'm still iterating my product. Or I need to hire better engineers. So I need to drive more initiatives that will get more engineers excited about our company. Many ways in how you can think about business goals, not always about the dollar sign, but you have to think about what am I doing that's contributing to this business goal? And then you can use your humanity for that.
And also, I would add a little bit of talking about this vanity metrics. I always use this question, so what? So for example, if like we have 500 people in the community, so what? They made 400 posts, so what? You know, and till the moment you find out like what really is helping your business to grow, what really is helping your community members to benefit, keep asking, so what? And the moment you understand, then there is your metrics to track. Yeah, please don't track number of members. Please don't track number of posts, because those are, vanity metrics.
Thank you, Yurii. Thank you, Ed. I think we are right on time, and it was a great session. I never realized that 1 hour just passed by. I think so. Thank you so much. It was great getting knowledge from you, and I'm pretty sure the audience that we had, they must have, like I would say, gained something for sure. So thank you for pitching in, both of you, Yurii and Ed. And this brings us to an end of our insightful session. So thank you so much, and we will love to hear back from the audience, and we also would have more topics, and let's hope we can meet again and we have another insightful session soon. Thank you, everyone.
Have many more conversations. Thank you, Nikhil, for hosting. Thanks, Edu, for having fun, and thanks people for joining us. Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, audience. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.